It's the moment that still brings chills to South Carolina fans. Nyckoles Harbor is a Gamecock. How could landing Harbor provide momentum for Shane Beamer's 2024 class?
If anything, it just goes to show that Shane Beamer and his staff are capable of going and winning a recruiting battle for a big time recruit like Nick Harbor. So when you look at some of the guys that South Carolina is in on for the 2024 class, at the very least, it should give South Carolina fans some confidence that they can go and do it again and get some of these big names that they're in on at this stage of the game.
Hale, when Shane Beamer took over a few years ago, I think a lot of people kind of doubted him as a recruiter. His first transition class, whatever you want to call it, I think it finished 80th. It was one of the worst all time in the SEC. You've seen him now up close and in person. We know the Harbor thing, but there's a lot to like in that 2023 group as well. What has been the most impressive thing you have seen from Shane Beamer when it comes to recruiting?
They've been willing to leave no stone unturned, and especially in the state of South Carolina, that's been an area of emphasis, obviously, for any coach, whether it's at South Carolina or at Clemson. They want to take care of business in their own backyard, and this staff, when they got onto the trail in 2021, and they were asking every high school coach in the state that they talked to, who are your guys? Whether or not you think they're good enough to play at South Carolina or the SEC, let me hear about them. And they were diligent in trying to build some of those early relationships and show that's where they wanted to get things started. And they certainly have, especially with the 2023 class and some of the guys that they've signed with that. And they'll continue to do it again in 2024. They've already gotten one big piece to the puzzle added in Cam Pringle and have a few more out there, or in Mazio Bennett as well, and have a couple more out there that they're looking to add to that group that's off to a hot start right now.
Yeah, Beamer's got that proof of concept, too, with the results on the field. Speaking of 2024, already 5th right now in the rankings with just 5 commitments, though, so a lot to be established there. But as you look ahead, what are a few positions that the staff will look to prioritize with this upcoming cycle?
Yeah, offensive line is a very important one. And when you have to play teams like Clemson and Georgia every year, where some of the best defensive linemen in the country are at, regardless of the recruiting class, you kind of want to have the best offensive lineman blocking those guys. So it helps that again, Cam Pringle is right down the road, in state, down near Charleston, about an hour and a half from Columbia, and an hour and a half the other direction. In another direction, there's Josiah Thompson at Dillon High School, who's another highly rated offensive line recruit. And then in an hour and a half another direction, there's Blake Franks, who's in Greenville. So it helps to be able to build an important position with guys who are just a stone's throw away. And again, that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. They want to start in state, and having offensive linemen like those guys really makes things a lot easier.
Hale, Emily mentioned it. South Carolina sitting number 5 right now in the 2024 rankings. You brought up how they want to kind of secure the backyard, and we know a few of those targets. But what do you think the ceiling is for South Carolina in this 2024 cycle? Is there some other big fish out there like a Nyckoles Harbor that they're just going to keep chipping away at down the stretch?
Yeah, I think the ceiling, if you're looking at that top 10 range as the ceiling, in my opinion, that's pretty fair place to kind of set the expectations. The guys I mentioned earlier, of course, are priorities. Up in that DMV area, there's a defensive end named Dylan Stewart, who's a big-time prospect that's been down to South Carolina a lot. There's another cornerback up there, and Braden Lee, who's a highly rated 4-star, who's been down a handful of times. He's actually a former teammate of Desmond Umeazolu, who signed and is already enrolled at South Carolina. So you get a little boost there with that, and a couple receivers that are relatively close by that they're looking at as well. So it's got potential for this to be one of the best, if not the best, South Carolina recruiting class on paper since 24/7's been doing this stuff.
Oh my goodness, we thought this year was great. We'll see what happens in the next cycle. Hale, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
I appreciate it. The Big Spur is the place to be for all your South Carolina news. throughout the offseason.